Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Matty here today with my in-depth analysis for the Fallout 4 Automatron DLC trailer. Yes, it finally dropped, and I have all the information you're going to need in this video right here. We see a lot of new things that can definitely go under the radar, so be sure to share this video, kick back, relax, and let's analyze this thing. Starting off with the first image, right off the bat, we see something a bit new. Now, we've seen the backpacks on the robots before. We know that there's going to be upgrades for the robots in the Automatron DLC. But what's interesting to me is the lower backpack, because we assume that the backpack on the back of these robots that we saw on the SentryBot screenshot before the trailer dropped was for additional inventory space. But then for this Assaultron, there seems to be an additional backpack on his lower back, maybe assuming that this could be additional ammo capacity, something along those lines. Next, we're seeing where these robots are being created. They seem to be inside this brand new facility. Obviously, it's worth mentioning, you'll see numerous brand new locations, which is always relieving to see because we know the big thing about Bethesda games is their fantastic dungeons, so it's nice to see we're going to be getting a couple of brand new ones. Speaking of brand new, how about some brand spanking new robots? That sounds awesome to me. So this is very cool because it's not just going to be us utilizing the robots that we've seen in the game before, but Bethesda also bringing in brand new robots, which will obviously be able to use their parts to help customize our own personal robot companions. So do keep that in mind. With anything you basically see on these robots is likely going to be something that you can put onto your personal companion, but nonetheless, new robots is always exciting, along with the obvious return of the Robo Brain. Skipping ahead just a few seconds over some really unimportant filler is our first look at the Robo Brain, and obviously he looks basically the exact same from Fallout 3, but nonetheless, this is our first look at him. Now we're getting a look at a very ominous area which offers us a lot of details on the creepy types of robots we're going to see. In the back we see a set of deactivated robots that I feel is quite reminiscent of the Pit DLC where we had that set of deactivated Protectrons. These do kind of look like Protectrons, but they seem almost scrapped, like they're destroyed, they're kind of throwaways or maybe works in progress. We can kind of tell by the middle Protectron, which has a missing leg, if it is a Protectron. It's really hard to tell in my opinion, but I think it's a safe bet to assume that these are all different types of robots that are kind of being worked on. On the left side, however, we definitely see that's an Assaultron, but with a almost synth-like skull as a head. So like I said, these can get quite creepy as we can see the multiple spikes throughout its body as well. On top of that, on the table, we see what seems to be a piece of chest armor that the player can wear. Mind you, this could be a robot upgrade or a part for our robots, but to me that looks like the model for a piece of armor. Another fantastic example of just how creepy these robots can look, and the reason I stopped it here is because I just wanted to say that this robot kind of in a very weird and odd way reminds me of Predator. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Now we're getting a front look at the Assaultron from the beginning of the trailer, and I'm starting to think that this is the voice throughout the trailer for this DLC. The reason I say that is because they mentioned in the beginning how they've been attacked 3 times, and we still see this blue Assaultron that's surrounded by a bunch of robots that are dead, so likely this is the one that got ambushed. Also, you'll see an ongoing theme in this DLC trailer where you'll see kind of the blue against the red, which is always good versus evil, making me assume that this is going to be almost like a robots versus robots type of thing, where not all the robots in Fallout 4 are going to be evil, and maybe some will help you, and maybe that's who's giving you the quest. Oh boy, here we go, robot customization. But before we get into any of that, I'd like to highlight that this robot customization workstation happens to be in Starlight Drive-In, meaning that we are going to be able to put our robot customization workstations in any type of settlement we would like. I know this is probably a shoo-in for a lot of gamers, but mind you, it's worth confirming anyway. As for some of the customizable parts, we see that this is going to be a Protectron crossing with the bottom of a Robo Brain. We also see that he has a buzzsaw on his right arm and a claw on his left, so it's a crossover of a bunch of different things, which is always awesome to see. Now we're about to get hit with an onslaught of robot customization, so buckle down people because here we go. Now this first shot should be very familiar to you because this is just your standard Protectron without any armor. It may be a little bit difficult to recognize because he doesn't have any armor plating around him, but that is in fact our standard Protectron. The next shot, however, is a bit different because we see what is a Protectron top and bottom, but yet a Robo Brain head. And then follow that up by showing just how much customization you can do, and we see now that we have a Robo Brain head with a SentryBot top, and then your remainder being the Protectron body. We're going to be seeing a lot of new robot parts that we can't identify quite yet, much like the head of this robot. This is brand new as well, but obviously this is the Robo Brain bottom with the Sentry Bot top. We also see what seems to be the lightning chain gun that was referred to in the initial announcement of the Automatron DLC on the right arm of this brand new robot. On the left arm, this seems to be some type of rocket launcher. So once again, I think the most exciting highlight of this shot is the lightning chain gun on the right arm. Mr. Handy on top of Protectron legs. Sure, why not? But more so the focus here is obviously the pink color. It just shows how crazy we can get with our customization. I admire it, Bethesda. Thank you for letting me express myself. And this man, I don't even know what is this thing, man. I mean, we see an interesting katana-like weapon on his right arm, which we'll get a closer look at later on in the trailer. But what I'm focusing on is the armor, the helmet he's wearing. What is this a robot? Are you kidding me? I think this is absolutely sick, and I need to give kudos to Bethesda because I think robots are hella cheesy, and to see them actually be done in a cool and interesting fashion is something worth giving credit to. As I alluded to earlier in my in-depth analysis, I said that there was a lot of red versus blue, and here we're seeing more of it. We're seeing a lot of robots fighting against each other, meaning that there has to be some type of good robot faction to be fighting against the evil robots, which is always interesting because Bethesda really never mentioned it, and quite honestly, I never even thought of it. But later on, we see a lot of new interesting stuff in this shot right here, where we see a armored Eyebot with two really unique weapons. We see it with a drill, but we also see it with a giant power fist that it spins around and uses to swing and hit this Protectron with. Also, the Protectron has a kind of medieval style knight helmet, which is really cool, and I hope this is like an armor set and that all these robots have these cool badass armor sets that they can get. Now we're seeing a Sentry Bot fighting against a modded Assaultron with a Protectron bottom, but what I want to focus on more than anything is the helmet that is once again on the Sentry Bot. It seems that there's going to be a lot of different customization options that look cosmetically awesome, and this one seems to be kind of a bowl. Soon after, we see robots in combat yet again, but what's interesting about this one is that this robot happens to have a shish kebab on him, so it's really cool to see the customization options when it comes to weapons as well are expanding for these robots. Now we're seeing the return of the auto axe, but it's a lot different from what we saw in Fallout 3. It's more of a pull axe, and I'll point it out when we see it later on in the trailer, but do know that this is the return of the auto axe. Yes, you are in fact seeing this correctly. This is our protagonist with an Eyebot helmet charging the enemies, shooting an Assaultron head. I actually had to check my Twitter for this one because I couldn't believe my eyes, and I wasn't 100% sure that this was in fact an Assaultron head, but it definitely is. It seems to shoot a kind of fiery red blob out, so I'm not sure if it's an area of effect type of gun or if it's actually one that we're going to be using for single fire against the enemy, but nonetheless, new guns for us, new armor for us is always exciting. As promised, here we're seeing a better look at the auto axe. Like I said, it's more of a pole axe, more of a two-handed type of weapon, but as you can see in this screenshot here, which is a step ahead in the trailer, we can see that the blade does spin against our enemy when we stick the blade out. Also, we see a new finisher type of move similar to that of the Death Claw, where he picks us up and stabs us, that this robot will actually jump on top of the protagonist and stab the absolute life out of him, which is always pretty cool to see. And hello there, Railgun. I'm actually quite surprised at how much weapons and armor we're getting in this DLC. It was, like I said, all focused on the robots, but once again, it's showing just how much the player is getting as well, which is always incredibly exciting. Next, we see the Railgun in action. What's really cool about this weapon is that we're actually seeing it chain together attacks. It happens for just a split second in the trailer, but I managed to capture it in this screenshot, that the Railgun actually goes between enemies, and they don't even have to be lined up, so it's likely a type of charge shot that continues through all the currents of the enemies. Fallout was obviously inspired by Mad Max, and clearly you can see the inspiration here. There's just some type of Mad Max vibe here, given the lighting, the type of armor this Sentry Bot has, but also check out those weapons, because he has the miniguns, but also right below the miniguns are what seem to be type of grenade/rocket launchers, which is always very cool to see. After a little bit more of robot combat, we get another Sentry Bot charging at us. Once again, we see a very cool mask, but also I'd like to highlight this is the same type of armor that we saw during what I mentioned was the Mad Max inspired armor. We can see skulls on the shoulders. This is really cool type of customization that I'd assume is going to carry over into our robot, so these little details make all the difference for us. And last but certainly not least is our first look at the Mechanist. No surprises here, really. I'm still going with the fact that he's Derek Passion, the kid who was obsessed with watching the Antagonizer and the original Mechanist fight, but time will tell. Anyway, that concludes my in-depth analysis for this Automatron DLC trailer. Yes, a 1-minute trailer made into something 10 plus minutes long, because you know how I go with these type of trailers. Anyways, if I missed anything or if you guys noticed anything else, put them in the comments down below. Let's really dig deep into this trailer. It's coming very soon on March 22nd, so get hyped, people. Very soon we will be playing brand new Fallout content. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description. Check out SugarBomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.